Present Council Cahill.
Present.
Present Council Capano. Absent Council Calucci.
Present.
Present Council Creighton.
Present.
Present Council Seer.
Present.
Present Council Ford.
Present.
Present Council Lozey.
Present.
Present Council Net.
Present.
Present Council Phelan.
Present.
Present Council Trahan.
Present.
Present 10 present.
Can we all please rise for a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd just like to state that we received a phone call from Council Capano's family this evening that he is ill this evening and unable to participate in the council meeting. Communications?
We have one communication from Peter Karen, Director of Assessing. Dear Councilors, the Board of Assessors respectfully requests a public hearing be held before the City Council on December 10, 2013, in order for the Board to provide the Council all the information and data relevant to making a determination on the percentages of the fiscal year 2014 tax levy to be borne by each class of real and personal property, as well as the financial effect of available alternatives, including open space discount, the residential exemption, and small commercial exemption. Please note that as provided in general laws, the residential exemption and small commercial exemption are at the option of the mayor with the approval of the council. Therefore, if the mayor makes no recommendation to the council for adoption of either of these exemptions, council action is not required. Very truly yours, Peter Karen, Director of Assessing.
What's the wish of the council? Motion made to set down. Do I hear a second? Discussion? Roll call.
Council Barton?
Yes.
Yes. Council Cahill?
Yes.
Yes. Council Capano? Absent Council Calucci? Yes. Council Creighton?
Yes.
Yes. Council Seer?
Yes.
Yes. Council Ford?
Yes.
Yes. Council Lozey?
Yes.
Yes. Council Net?
Yes.
Yes. Council Phelan?
Yes.
Yes. Council Trahan?
Yes.
Yes. 10 yes.
It's the next one. Public hearing?
We have one public hearing on an ordinance amending a portion of the zone map of the City of Lynn and the zone ordinance of the City of Lynn, proposed zoning changes for Washington Street and Sagamore Hill corridor overlay districts, and we have a recommendation from the Planning Board. Motion to the Lynn City Council that they approve the proposed zoning ordinance changes for Washington Street and Sagamore Hill corridor overlay districts as advertised on October 8th and 11th.
I'd like to open the public hearing for anybody wishing to speak in favor.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Wheaton. I'm an employee of the Lynn Housing Authority Neighborhood Development, and I'd like to speak in favor of the proposed changes. As you know, in 2007, the City of Lynn received a planning grant from DHCD to initiate an intensive community planning process and identify strategies that address specific conditions that have negatively impacted this area, the Washington Street Gateway area. The overall goal of this process was to produce a master plan or vision for the Washington Street Gateway neighborhood. With support from the Lynn Economic Development Industrial Corporation, Sasaki Associates, the same consultants hired by the city for the waterfront master plan, were brought on board to facilitate completion of the Washington Street Gateway plan. As part of the Washington Street Gateway plan, Sasaki Associates had outlined zoning recommendations based on extensive community input consisting of approximately 12 neighborhood meetings. Today's proposed zoning changes are consistent to Sasaki recommendations and further update the current zoning requirements to reflect the Washington Street Gateway Master Plan recommendations. The intent of the changes are to facilitate the development of a mix of use including retail, residential, and office, to increase real estate investment and development, to improve the Washington Street corridor and create a connection between Sagamore Hill, North Shore Community College, and the waterfront, to promote accessibility within the district by improving the existing street patterns and sidewalks, to replace vacant and underutilized land, low-density development, and incompatible uses with moderate-density mixed-use developments. And it remains consistent with smart growth and transit-oriented development principles, which allow for increased development of downtown districts located near public transportation hubs, and further promoting a walkable environment and the patronage of local businesses by current and future residents. not conflict with the original intent of the overlay districts, but in fact will further promote the development of this important area of which the city, which bridges the downtown with the waterfront. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? Seeing no one else wishing to speak in favor, close the public hearing for all those in favor. Open the public hearing for anybody in opposition. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Anybody in opposition? Seeing no one wishing to speak in opposition, close the public hearing for all those in opposition. Close the public hearing. Council Calucci.
Motion to approve it's an excellent plan.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Council Cahill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Due to the members, I'd just like to thank some of the folks that have been involved in this for some time, and I know this is in Councilor Calucci's ward, and he's worked hand in hand with Councilor Capano and Councilor Crichton and Councilor next to Larges, Councilor Barton through your leadership as well. And I know the ward councilors, even though it's not in their wards, they've been very excited about this development. It's going to bring some union jobs. It looks like the city of Lynn some much needed development, transit-oriented development, and we're very excited about the governor's announcement that he's going to be putting up to $20 million in the North Shore Community College expansion. This is perfect. They come to the perfect time. We're trying to expand student services, and then we'll have some housing for maybe some of those students. So it looks like this is going to be one of those kickstarters, hopefully, in that area to really bring more development. And of course, thanks to the NDA and Lynn for spearheading this. And it's been a long time acquiring parcels slowly but surely, and we're finally seeing that progress. So congratulations. It's a big win for the city council and the city at large. I'm proud to be supportive of this initiative.
Any further discussion? Councilor Crichton.
Mr. President, through you to the members, I just want to echo Councilor Cahill's thoughts in terms of Lynn Housing Authority's whole process throughout. As the ward councilor that abuts this area, I really appreciate them keeping us all involved and having several community meetings. I really feel like the public got a good feel for the process, and I want to thank them for their hard work on this, as well as Councilor Calucci. Thank you.
Any additional discussion? Roll call.
Council Barton?
Yes.
Yes. Council Cahill?
Yes.
Yes. Council Capano, absent. Council Calucci?
Yes.
Yes. Council Creighton?
Yes.
Yes. Council Seer?
Yes.
Yes. Council Ford?
Yes.
Yes. Council Lozey?
Yes.
Yes. Council Net?
Yes.
Yes. Council Phelan?
Yes.
Yes. Council Trahan?
Yes.
Yes. 10 yes. We have a public hearing to be set down. One petition of National Grid for permission to install 80 feet of conduit and secondary service from pole 9 across the street to 4 Megan's Way.
What's the wish of the council? Motion to set down the public hearing. By your second.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Unfinished business. Ken Weeks, subpoena appearance.
Thank you, Councilor Ford. If I could, I'd like to maybe make a recommendation, if maybe they can come here and sit down, Mr. Weeks and his attorney.
You're
So maybe a lengthy process, and they want to sit in.
You're facing council.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Weeks, could I just swear you in before we start this? So, okay, could you raise your right hand? Mr. Weeks, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Before we begin, Mr. Weeks is appearing here tonight voluntarily pursuant to a letter that he wrote to the council and hand delivered on September 27th. As you probably know, there's been a lawsuit filed and there is a hearing scheduled for October 31st with respect to the subpoena and the process. We're going to reserve all our rights with respect to that subpoena. But right now, going forward, we appear voluntarily. Mr. Weeks appears voluntarily, and will at the outset answer questions with respect to the computer, which I believe is the only valid issue before this body that has been voted on by the council. But we would like to voluntarily go forward on the computer issue, and Mr. Weeks will answer these questions under oath.
Okay, thank you. Because of the series of events that took place that day, the council wanted to ask questions, as you said. And this is Mr. Hazel, if anyone doesn't know, Mr. Weeks' attorney. And we're going to let the public hearing.
Yeah, anybody that wants to.
Councilors would like to ask any questions, feel free to ask Mr. Hazel or Mr. Weeks. Mr. Triumph.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. How you doing, Mr. Weeks? Mr. Hazel, how are you? I'd just like to start out, maybe if you could just tell us like how your job came about, like what was the process of like how he was hired?
I'm going to object to that, okay? I may visit, or Mr. Weeks may visit that later on, but right now he's going to answer questions with respect to the only thing that I have seen has been voted on here, which is with respect to the computer. So if you would reserve those questions till later on, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But right now, the original vote and the subsequent vote by this honorable council was with respect to the computer on primary night or preliminary vote night. And if we can stick to that for now, we'll talk about the rest of it later.
Thank you. Council Sale.
Thank you. I think we're just trying to figure out what his qualifications are. So I think that is important to find out what his knowledge is of computers, how he got his job. I think that was a valid question that Councilor Trahan asked.
I'm going to object to that and advise Mr. Weeks not to answer that at this point in time. I want to stick to the computer. I don't think it's a valid question to ask with respect to how he got his job. That is within, I believe, the other 4 issues that were issued on a subpoena that was issued after a vote only on the computer. So right now, at this point in time, we are here voluntarily under oath to answer questions about the computer incident, which there is a vote and an authorization by the mayor on the subpoena, but the rest of that subpoena, and possibly even that part of the subpoena, we object to when there's a hearing scheduled.
Council Triumph.
Thank you. Could I invite up Attorney Lamanna just to ask him? Attorney Lamanna, do we have to, what Mr. Weeks' attorney is saying, do we have to hold questions within the computer, or can we ask any questions that we want?
Mr. Weeks was served a subpoena that encompassed 5 topics, general topics, including the issue with the computer on preliminary night. There's also general duties and responsibilities with respect to the job, which I personally believe is part and parcel of what happened on preliminary night. Attorney Hazel is correct. There is a lawsuit that was filed against each member of the City Council yesterday that Mr. Weeks, through Attorney Hazel, filed a motion for a temporary restraining order that was denied by the court yesterday afternoon. They have scheduled a hearing for October 31st at 2 o'clock in Newburyport. If Mr. Weeks would like to voluntarily, if it was the council would like to voluntarily answer other questions, the court will ultimately make its decision on the 31st whether all topics identified in the subpoena must be answered by Mr. Weeks.
So we can't ask him like how his qualifications for his job and how he came about the job?
You're free to ask any question that you feel is relevant to city business, and Attorney Hazel does have the right to object and reserve that objection until the 31st, when the court will rule on all these questions. And a lot of them will obtain a transcript of the questions. So the court has specifically requested both myself to brief the issue whether the court can limit the scope of this investigation. The court will have a transcript to determine whether in fact they can limit it in any way. So depending on the law department, through the city charter, section 36, you do have a right to have a full investigation, but that decision may not occur until the 31st. Correct.
Thank you. Okay, if I could just, you have anything to say?
If I can. We may address that issue, those other issues that you seek to address later on. Ms. Young is here right now. We're here voluntarily. If I can read the vote of the council of, I think, the 24th. Motion by Councilor Sear to subpoena Mr. Ken Weeks to appear before the next council meeting to answer questions regarding the recent actions relative to the city council computer. I think that's what we're here for. Mr. Weeks voluntarily came out, said he would come in voluntarily and appear if he was given reasonable notice. Nobody responded to that. Subpoena was sent out. It was improperly served. But we are here voluntarily to try to get this, to try to answer your questions and maybe make this whole issue move. So.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not.
Council
I
Chair.
just have two more questions. Okay, I'm going to start with, now when were you, Mr. Weeks, when were you called by the mayor to come in about the computer? I know it was a
Probably around 3:30 in the afternoon. I was actually at another meeting.
Okay, so that was that same day that you did take the computer, it was the same day that you
Same
called?
day.
Okay. Now, once you came to City Hall, where did you go to first? Did you go right up to the mayor's office?
Mayor's office.
To the mayor's office.
Correct.
And you saw the mayor? You don't remember her office?
Correct.
Okay. Now then, can you just kind of take us through what happened next? Kind of take us through what came about?
The mayor showed me a letter, asked me if anything looked unusual about the letter, and I glanced at it and said, well, you know, the signatures at the bottom all appear to be done by the same person, but I'm not a handwriting analyst, so I don't know if that's anything wrong with that. The mayor then stated that she thought the signatures had been done by Ms. Young upstairs because she was familiar with her signature. Once again, I have no idea on that. And she then said that she thinks the letter had been created on a computer upstairs. And she thought, we should take a look at that.
Now, once you got down to the council office and you didn't see Ms. Young there, were you under the assumption you were going to ask Ms. Young to take her computer, or were you just there to just do it without her? I don't understand, when you took the computer out of there, were you waiting for her not to be there, I guess is my question, or you just happened to not be there? I guess that's my question.
It's a little confusing, but I just
Yeah, when we went up there, before we went up there, we went down and saw Peter Cameron to tell him that we were going. The mayor basically laid out what the thinking was. Also told him about the visit to the DA that morning, and that if there was proof, the DA would act upon that. She told Peter that we were going to go upstairs and get the computer and take a look. Now, when we went up there, the mayor and I, we had no idea who was going to be up there or who wasn't up there. There was nobody in the office when we went up there. Stood at the counter for a couple of minutes, there was nobody there. And then I didn't know where Ms. Young even sat. So not stealthily, not under the cover of darkness, as people had said. It was 5 o'clock or so on a Tuesday night, City Hall was still open. Unplugged the
Now,
computer.
did you take the computer out of City Hall when you took it?
The computer went right downstairs into the mayor's, my office, my desk at the mayor's office.
And then when you just go through the computer to see if that,
Set the computer up and, you know, took a look at some files to see if there were any files that matched the letter that I had seen. There didn't appear to be many files at all on the computer. You know, whether it was saved, I don't know. You know, it could have been on the server or whatever. But after looking at it for maybe half an hour, there were no files there, so I told the mayor that. And
so you never found the letter that supposedly was created on that computer?
correct. There were, like I said, there were very few files. I guess later it came out that there was another machine. I'm not aware of that.
So now, once you brought the computer, so now you had the computer, how long would you say? Down there?
Probably a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes.
Okay. So now, once you brought the computer back, Ms. Young was there?
Ms. Young and Ms. Hogan were both there. Both.
And then I believe, I'm not sure, but correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Young asked you why you took the
Well,
computer.
she was happy to see that I had the computer. She thought it possibly had been stolen or something, and there was no anger or anything. It was all good, you know, my computer. And I, you know, brought it over, hooked it back up. We had a pleasant conversation between the three of us. She was asking me about viruses because she had asked me why I took it, and at that point, I didn't feel it was my place to accuse her of any wrongdoing or any, you know, potential wrongdoing. So, you know, I told her a virus had popped up. It was the most possible answer that I could give her without, you know.
So who came up with that untruth? Was that your story?
That was,
the mayor's story?
that was right at that moment.
Okay, so that was
I
your,
just didn't feel that that was, you know, it wasn't my place to say that, you know.
okay, so that was your untruth. Okay, just one more question. Now, did you ever think to leave a note, like on Ms. Young's desk, just to tell her that you guys had taken the computer, so she came back and she was a nervous wreck and she was about to call the police station? I don't know, was that ever talked about?
It wasn't talked about.
So they took the computer. Okay. Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you, Council. Council Seer?
Thank you. Just bring it back to, you were talking to Mr. Karen, and the mayor say that the DA said if there was proof, she could launch a investigation.
I don't believe she ever got into that.
That's what you just said, that the DA, if there was proof, that
The
they could.
DA had said to the mayor, if there was proof, I don't know that the mayor said it necessarily to Peter.
Okay, that's what you're saying, that the DA said in the morning, that there was proof that she could launch an investigation, correct?
What I said was that if the DA had said to her that if there was proof, that they would then act upon it.
Okay, so she didn't have any proof in the morning, right? She decided to go looking herself later.
I object to that. I don't know that he can speak to what the mayor knew or didn't know. Well, he can't read the mayor's mind. If the mayor said something to him, he'll tell you.
No, just say what he just
If you
said.
want to ask him what the mayor said to him, he'll tell you. But he's not a mind reader. He can't.
I understand that, but I'm just saying what he said. That if the DA said that if there was proof, that they could launch an investigation, is what he said.
That is what the mayor said to me.
And there was no proof, at your knowledge at that time, there was no proof.
I had no proof. I had no idea what they were doing.
So when you went upstairs to the city council office, was the gate closed?
I don't recall if the gate was, there was a gate there, whether it was locked or not, I don't recall.
That's not what the question was. The question was the gate closed?
There was a gate there.
Right. Was it closed? Simple. Question.
The gate appeared to be closed, yes.
So you opened the gate, right? There was nobody on the other side?
There was nobody on the other side.
Did you call out and ask?
I don't believe I opened it. I believe the mayor opened the gate. As I said, I don't know where her desk is. That's her desk, open the gate.
Did you call out and, or did the mayor call out and ask for Terry or Julia or if anybody was in the office?
No.
So you don't know if anybody was in the office? Or they-
Did not see anybody in the office.
It could have been someone in the conference room or even in the city council president's room, correct?
I'm not familiar with the office layout, but I guess it's possible.
Well, I mean, but my point is, you went through a gate that was closed. It was closed for a reason. Because they didn't want people on the other side. But
I object, you know,
why?
your testimony, there's no basis for that it was closed for a reason.
Of course there is, because it was closed for a reason, because they didn't want anybody to go through.
Well,
Because they were afraid someone might steal something or take something that they shouldn't.
he can't testify to what somebody else did or what reasons were going on. I mean, I think he was there, and nobody was there during regular working hours. I mean, you've read the report from Attorney Cronenbaum, right?
I did read it.
Okay,
So
so the bottom line is, it was regular working hours. I guess there would have been normally expected to be 2 people in that office who were not there. And the office was open.
well, there were people
Okay,
in that
and
office.
the mayor's in charge.
My point, Mr. Hazel, is that
You-
there were people in the office, that they weren't made aware that they were coming in. And that's why I think the words may have been used, snuck in there. So, and that's what I'm trying to determine. If the gate was closed, there's a bell there, nobody rang the bell. Nobody yelled out to see if there was anybody in the office.
Well, you can ask him these questions. What I'm asking you is not to testify. You can say, did you ring the bell? Did you open the gate? He'll answer those questions.
Did you open the gate?
Like I said previously, I'm not sure what
Please.
no, I don't believe it did.
Okay. Did anybody yell out to see if anybody
No.
was in the office?
No.
Did anybody ring the bell?
No, I don't, no.
You're probably going to object because I'm trying to find out, again, what your qualifications are to go in and take a look at that computer.
I work for the mayor. Every place that I've ever worked, the CEO of a company, or in this case of the city, has the right to get a computer that sees computers. I was following her direction to get that computer. So I was doing what I was asked by my boss. Now, what are my qualifications? Well, I've been in the IT industry for about 25 years. I know how to look for files. You know,
Did you feel as though it was a normal thing or a legal thing to walk in and take someone's computer, whether it be owned by the city, and I'm not disputing the fact that the mayor or anybody has a right to know what the contents is on that computer. What I'm trying to get down to is the way it was done. And I'm asking, do you feel as though what you did and the mayor was legal?
He can't answer whether or not, he can't give you a legal opinion.
That's why I'm just asking a question.
You
I
can-
mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm a city
Neither is he,
councilor,
that's the point.
and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it.
Which fine, just ask him simple, direct questions, and he'll give you simple, direct answers.
Okay. Did you find anything on the computer?
No.
Like that?
no,
Did you put anything on the computer or add anything to it?
no,
Did you make it so that the computer can be observed either from the mayor's office or from another location other than the city council?
no.
Thank you, Council. Any other questions? Councilor Fairfield. Council President Fairfield.
Thank you. Mr. Weeks, when you testified on both a few minutes ago that you were shown a letter and you asked if there was anything odd.
I believe that was the question, correct.
And did you draw a conclusion at that point?
I don't know if I drew a conclusion other than those three signatures looked like they were done by the same person.
And then you were asked to do what?
And at that point, the mayor discussed that she thought this letter maybe had been created on a computer.
Did you draw a conclusion on the weight of evidence at that point?
Object. That's beyond his capability. That's an expert question or a legal issue. He can't answer that.
Now, you testified that you worked for the mayor.
And Councilor Phelan, he was at the direction of the mayor. He wasn't making any independent judgments. You can ask him about what the mayor asked him to do, what he did,
I appreciate the guidance. Mr. Weeks, you testified that you worked for the mayor. You were following the mayor's direction. That you were doing what I was asked to do by my boss. Now, I've read the paperwork here, and there seems to be a legal dispute as to whether you are or aren't employed from your council. And so when you're called that day, in what capacity are you called?
As the mayor's IT consultant.
And when did you begin your role as an IT consultant?
Back in 2010, I believe it was January 2010.
January 2010. And you've been in that role ever since?
Correct.
Okay. So you began, when you began in 2010, was there a written job description?
Again, I'm going to object to that and ask that the questions just be confined to what the council voted on with respect to the incident that occurred with the computer on preliminary election day, is it?
Well, I, again, appreciate the guidance. And what we're trying to find out is, be it an employee or an independent consultant, which Mr. Weeks initiated the conversation, what the role of that person is and how that position came about. Did you apply for the position?
Object. He's going to stay within the framework of the council vote.
Was there a public bidding process for that position?
Object. If you want to reach this at a later time, I'd like to get through the computer at this point in time. And quite possibly you should recuse yourself from asking these questions.
Again, appreciate the guidance. Are you refusing to answer the question of whether or not there was a public bidding process at the time?
If you continue with this line of questions, not only will he refuse, we will leave because we're here voluntarily.
Attorney Miller. Thank you. If I can, Mr. Vice President. Can you please clarify, you mentioned earlier that the general duties and responsibilities of the position are normal questions to ask. Is that accurate?
Certainly be my argument before the judge knew what next week.
And how somebody obtained their position, or what the roles of that position are. Is there anything inappropriate about asking those questions?
There's a lot about it. We will aggressively argue that these questions are proper and that they should be answered.
Do you see any reason?
They were spelled out in the subpoena.
Do you see any reason why someone should not be willing to answer basic, simple questions as to how they obtained a position?
Mr. Weeks does have a right to file a suit, which he has chosen to do with the council's legal authority, and he has that right. It's a lot of opposite opinion that he had noticed of this line of questioning, and these issues will be litigated next week.
Could you state that again?
These issues will be litigated next week, what the scope of the questioning will be.
So if I understand, Mr. Hazel, if I continue to ask about the bidding process and how Mr. Weeks got his position, you will walk out and leave.
I told you at the outset, I reserve Mr. Weeks' rights with respect to those 4 different areas that magically appeared in the subpoena, following votes that had clearly no vote on those issues. What I'm telling you is we're voluntarily appearing, and we want to answer questions about the computer incident, which has been voted on by the council. And there has been no vote about any of these other questions that you're raising, so we believe it's without the scope and authority of this body. And again, we're appearing voluntarily. We just would like to answer the questions about the computer. I believe that's what you wanted to hear about. If you don't want to hear about it, if you want to go somewhere else.
Well, I think what we're trying to find out, Mr. Hazel, is whether or not somebody acted within their realm of responsibility and duties with Mr. Weeks' action, and how those responsibilities and duties came about. And I don't think that's unreasonable, but for the moment, I'll defer to Councilor Seer.
Councilor Seer.
Thank you. You keep saying you did voluntarily, and unfortunately, I don't have the letter in front of me, but I thought it said in the letter that you would appear to answer any questions asked. And I might also want to add that, because I've heard this word a bazillion times, transparency, that's what the mayor's office is all about. It seems, by not answering the question, we're just trying to determine what Mr. Weeks' qualifications are. I understand he worked 25 years in the IT department, and owned his own business for 25 years, but, you know, is he an investigator? Does he create different programs for the computers? And that's what we're trying to determine here. By not answering the questions that we're asking, it almost looks like you're trying to cover up something.
We're trying to answer questions that the council voted to ask, and that was about the incident on preliminary election day. As we have given you some latitude on that, we have also preserved our rights with respect to those 4 other issues that I say magically appeared on the subpoena. Okay, we're preserving our rights. We would like to be here tonight to clear up, to the best of Mr. Weeks' ability, what happened on that evening. And I will give you some latitude, certainly, but, we're not going back.
I just say that we're trying to find out what his credibility is.
And,
Because apparently, for some reason, he lied that night when he brought the computer back. He said that there was a virus on the computer. So, right off the bat, by lying, his credibility is not all that great with me. So I'm trying to give him the opportunity to show me that he's being honest and upfront. And I'll use the word that the mayor uses all the time, transparent. So,
we're not here to discuss the transparency or non-transparency of the mayor. That might be what you want to discuss. We're here to answer the questions about the computer from, some latitude from the afternoon that he got his call to the evening that it was over. And we'd like to do that. We really would.
A simple
Can I
question.
finish?
Change to the computer.
Can I finish?
Go ahead.
We'd like to do that, we really would. And maybe we can address those other issues later, but I'd like to get this over with.
I'm sure you.
I don't want you to be segueing into this because I reserve my rights with respect to the rest of that.
Okay, that's fine. Why did you lie when you brought the computer back?
Jack, he's not gonna answer that. It's asked and answered. That's your characterization as a lie. He didn't say that, okay? He told, he's
There
testified.
was a virus on the computer when you brought it back.
Asked and answered. He's testified to that. He's
Did you say there was
testified.
a virus on the computer when you brought it back?
I did.
Okay, what? And there wasn't, and that wasn't your intent when you went up to take the computer, correct? You were looking to find a letter that was written in the council office saying the council president wrote that night. Is that what you were
I'm
doing?
gonna object. It's been asked and answered. I'll let him answer it again, but I'm gonna object.
What I had said when I went back up there was when she asked why I had taken the computer, I gave her I did not want to accuse her of anything. I did not feel it was my place to do that. So I gave her the most plausible story that I could come up with. Was it?
So you made up a story, is what you did.
I gave her the most plausible explanation that wouldn't cause a big issue, and I didn't feel it was my place to accuse her of anything.
Okay, do you know if there's a written policy as to when someone goes in and takes someone's computer in City Hall, is there a written policy, do you know?
I don't believe there's a computer use policy. There's an internet use policy. There's an email policy. I don't believe there is a computer use policy.
Do you know who wrote that policy?
Which policy?
The internet policy?
That was, I put that together back in 2010.
Okay, and all employees were asked to sign.
That's correct. And the
Okay,
email policy as well.
did you go down and ask to look in Terry Young's file to see if there was a signed letter in there saying that she agreed to that policy?
No,
Okay, and you wrote the policy, correct?
correct. And
Okay,
a
well,
lot of-
in that policy, does it state that the employee would be giving any kind of notice before the computer is taken?
I don't know that that is in that policy.
But no notice was given though, correct?
That's correct.
And no one called out when you went into the office of the mayor, opened up the gate, and the mayor pointed up, go ahead. I'm asking a question.
All I'd ask is that you ask questions, you ask them succinctly, and you don't testify. Okay, he's already answered all those questions. He did open it.
That's fine, but maybe I
Just
didn't
ask
give
him,
all the
you know, don't ask him complex questions, short questions so he can answer succinctly and
So you're
and let you know.
trying to direct me to tell me how to ask questions.
Well, I don't want to try to direct you. I don't want you testifying for him. I want you to ask him questions.